Hello, welcome back. Last episode of Red Stag, this one. If you like it, if you don't, can't turn it off, etc, etc, etc. I've got a dirty face, I have got a dirty face. If you want to contact me, Church House Classics, it's all one word. And if you fancy donating to the channel or buy me a pint, then there's a PayPal me thing scrolling down here. Anyway, enjoy the video. That, believe it or not, is pretty much all I had to do. Lower the idle speed, because I want to get the idle speed down to 700 to 750, which it is. Enriched each carburettor, so each carburettor turned it up about 3/4 of a turn. That's it. It might be running just a smeg rich, but that is as sweet as a nut. Nice. Right, put the air filter back on now. I was looking at the air filter actually, and I think I might change it because that is not quite as beautiful as I thought it was. I don't know whether I was looking at the other side or something. Anyway, I've got another one on the shelf. That seems to be happy. So after yesterday's challenges of distributor, we've got the ignition running right, we've got the carburetors running right, gentle hum from the tappets, normal. New fuel filter over there. I haven't done the fuel filter in the boot yet, I'll do that in a second. What was the... I had a challenge. Oh, I did the drive shaft gaiters. Because even though you've recently had a diff fitted, whoever it was that put the diff on didn't notice that the splines were very dry and also the gate was split. Quite why you take the drive shafts off to put a diff on and not bother doing shit like that, I don't know. Anyway, nice and sunny today, look at that. Bright. Right, okay, we're moving forward a step with this. Bit of background noise, but I want to get the Stag started up, so. We are done. Oh my goodness. Gracious. Heavens above. Right, down. Ignition's on the other side. Chokes out about the properly. That's a cold start, and it is cold today. You can see it's a bit on the chilly side. That's quite sweet. Obviously it's cold at the moment. Everything's cold. No rattle from the timing chains at all. Okay, we're on choke at the moment. This annoyed me. Now, I was reversing out of here, and it was a bit wet last week. Let me turn this around. I'm really sorry, Cameron, but this is what I was talking about. So I was reversing out of the compound here, and a truck came down. One of the big old skip trucks. And normally, so the Wickham Recycle chaps, they drive quite responsibly, but obviously they take a lot of other stuff from other contractors and so forth. The skip truck has to go on past about 30 miles an hour, and its wheel filled a hole, and whatever was in that hole, they went all over the back of the car. Now I've cleaned most of it up, but the problem is, because we're not, well, because we are in a lockdown period, and because washing cars apparently is running a bit slow on cold. But because we're in a lockdown period, car washing apparently is not essential. But I'll tell you what, fucking is. Now I'm going to have to, because I've got no water supply up here, I'm going to have to just basically take it back to my place and get a bucket of hot soapy towels over it. Really just clean it up before it goes back to the customer. I've got the back wheels off at the moment, and there's a good reason we've got the back wheels off at the moment. Nothing to do with the brakes, it's to do with the noise that I noticed when I was driving it back from the MOT. So let's just get this thing warmed up a little bit, and then we can put the choke in. I'm just going to run a bit better. One of the things that I did do, so let's put it into drive. One of the things that I did do was that I fixed the speedo. Brakes are working nicely. Into park again. No, you've got a kind of pre-warning of the noise. Look, the temperature gauge is actually off the bottom of the scale. I have never noticed that. Not on a Mark 1, not on a Mark 2 car anyway. Are these Mark 2 instruments in here? I think they are Mark 2 instruments, you know. We're warming up nicely now anyway, but I've never noticed the temperature gauge be right off the bottom of the scale like that. Well, like I say, it is about minus something or other today. I wired up, because there's no heated rear window on this, the circuit's all knackered, and this was going to some cobbled in hazard warning light that caused the indicators to fail. The indicators are now working beautifully, as you can see. They're no longer flashing 4 times a second. What I've done is I've wired the light down here up against the reed switch on the header tank. So basically what I've done is I've taken a live feed from the back of the heated warning light onto that, and then it runs through to an earth via the tank over there. Oh, the lead's moving. Stags do sound nice. I've got to get mine going again. Radio works. Yeah, a nice crackle to it, that's good. Interior lights are all working. Oh, incidentally, this switch down here, big toggle switch, watch the door lights. I don't know what it's there for, other than to turn off the door lights. I've got all of the interior lights are all working now, with the correct spec bulbs in there. It's a bit bouncy around all over the shop now, I'm afraid, sorry folks. Oh, hello, temperature needle. Choke going now, I think. Yeah, choke's in. Nice. Nice steady idle there. These tachos are never particularly accurate, but this one isn't bad. So I set the idle speed up at 750, and it's looking at about 800. But if I put my my mechanical kind of my brake's just completely not working today. If I put my mechanical tacho across the coil, it does come out at 750. Right, let's have a little look around. Just a little bit of tapping noise, nothing serious. The thing runs nicely. You can see we put the used old stock pump on there, no leaks, works beautifully. New battery went in, new brake master, what was causing all the problems I think. I'll go out for a test drive in a minute. Missing a clip up here for the HG leads, but they seem to sort of like stay out the way of the exhaust. It's closed. Bear in mind, it's just come off choke. Got a bit of stag porn. Let's put the microphone right up to it. Stag porn. Right, let's see now if we can investigate this noise. I need Lampius McLampyface, there he is. 13. I'll do a little review on my new Norbar 200 torque wrench. This is a thing of beauty. I'll do a little review on that. Right, okay, so here we go. Let's put you down here. I'm going to go and put it into drive. So you can hear the drum. The diff appears to be quiet. There's definitely noise. Hear it? Now I am 97.999% sure that that is the diff notes, unfortunately. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to hear it, right, because the exhaust is louder. And so it don't well could be. Let's put you on this side. See anything? Let's do you like this thing. Get on. Be a little fucking crack average. Right, so I think we can see it now. See it now? This chap here, torch there. These are really good. Give yourself one. Bloody great big long probe, not for internal use apparently. Earpiece, and you go around, you can touch things and listen to where the noise comes from. I normally use a screwdriver, but this was in my diagnostics box, and I found it. Now, let's put my hat hard on back there. And I'll show you a couple of things that I think might cause the problem. I might be causing noise. I haven't even got my bloody creeper over here. So, there's a couple of things that I'm really not happy with. First of all, that over there, so the near side outrigger, or near side subframe arm, is a lot noisier than this arm. You'll notice that the exhaust pipes are actually touching because of the way the exhaust is mounted. It's actually touching up there. The noise is much louder over here than it is actually on the diff nose itself, so I'm not convinced it's the diff nose. quite happy with that. Stag is in the snow. Going to take it for a whiz around the block. I'll just double check everything's all right with it. Right, there's the diff. Nice bit of kit, that. It's been nicely refurbished. I've ordered a new seal. Arv. You never kind of fit one of these things without putting a new seal in. So, new seal. Exhaust came apart relatively easily. The rubbers were a bastard because I haven't got my exhaust rubber hook here. It's on its way. It's in the container, which is arriving later on today. Now, basically, we can see now the diff nose. Here he is. Bit of light on the matter. Don't worry about the drip of oil on there. That's come off the diff. Right, now, basically this thing is held in with a bearing, and you don't want to see any movement on this thing. Interestingly also, bearing in mind this car's been in for a diff to be fitted, and they hadn't noticed that the gate, well, the previous company hadn't noticed that the gaiters were shot, that the brake flexes were absolutely medievally kind of ancient. Really? Come on, chaps. It doesn't take an awful lot, does it, to tell the customer, oh, you've got a bit of flaking underseal on the bottom of your car. Well, what we're going to do, we're going to let it wait until it gets really rusty. So I'll have a quick scrape over that, and I'll put some S50 over the top of it for you, Cameron, just to kind of keep the rust at bay. It's not that massive. This is the underside of the footwell, so the rear seat is directly above here. But it's like someone just sprayed new wax all over the top of quite crunchy old shit. Let's get a... Have I got a spanner? Will probably do it. Right. It's going to take me maybe a minute. I'll even donate that minute free of charge, just to give this car a fighting chance through the winter. It really isn't difficult, is it? Seatbelt mounts, seatbelt mounts. I mean, really, the whole of the underside of this car needs treating properly. The other thing I found them using was the rubber mounting pins. This stuff here, probably this one was slightly worse, I think. Yeah, look. It's not terminally rusty yet, but putting these rubbers back on, bone dry without any protection whatsoever, it's not what I would do. Never mind. Shit happens. Right, somebody's got this chap out next, because that is fucked. Which basically means undoing the prop shaft bolts on the other side and then undoing these four big bastards, and it'll come apart. I'm not going to time lapse it because it's just hours and hours and hours of footage for me to edit out. But it's relatively straightforward to get the diff nose off now. I mean, basically all I really do to get the diff off, as you've seen from that time lapse, get the exhaust off. That's the most difficult bit, because these two intermediate pipes here that go between the centre silencers and the rear tailpipes, if you've got a mild steel system, it might need some heat. This is a stainless system, so it came off quite easily. I tend not to use exhaust paste when I'm putting these things together, and a little squirt of lube, WD-40 or whatever, makes these things ever so easy to take apart. Diff itself, undo 3 of the 4 bolts. If they'll undo easily, undo them before you drop it. Undo the 2 nuts, 9/16, that hold the mountings to the boot floor, and then just lower the whole thing on the jack. You'll find the bolts then come apart really, really easily. And then it's really a case of positioning the jack on the underside, kind of midway fore and aft, I just pull it off. Fnarr. Beware though, this thing is heavy. I mean, we're probably talking 15-20 kilos. You don't want your arm underneath it if it's suddenly going to give way. So, you know, it's better off hitting the deck than it is kind of landing on your arm. So just be careful. I will put a glove over the top of this because it has been freshly rebuilt and I don't want any dust and crap in here. But it does look, I mean, there is no backlash in that whatsoever. I'm almost suspicious that it's too tight. It's nice and quiet though. But at least we found the noise. It was the diff nose. I thought it was the diff nose. Until you get the thing apart, you never quite know. So I've ordered a new pinion seal, for that. I've ordered a new bearing from my bearing supplier. I'll put it on the screen right now. Simply Bearings, I think it was on this occasion. And I have ordered a couple of the exhaust mounting brackets which go on the forward side of the subframe arms because they're just not mounted right. And there's a lot of engine vibration is coming through the subframe arms. So hopefully those parts will be arriving tomorrow. So we'll be back on its wheels again tomorrow. Quick job there, then I'm going to get on with some bob because I'm waiting for parts to turn up for hangers as well. And here it is, diff nose on the bench, ready? That is horrible. That is truly horrible. That was the noise, anyway. Got the quill shaft out. I've put the quill shaft in the end of the diff over there just to keep crap and dust out of it. The bearing is nastier than something that's extremely nasty. Okay, the damage on this side was caused really by me tapping it out, but you can see here that the seal is very, very, very brittle. Where was it? It's a Hoffman England bearing. So I don't know where that's come from, apart from Hoffman. I've ordered the new one. I'll research that actually. Hoffman England. Is that Hoffman? Yeah, Hoffmann. A lot of grease on this side of it. Damage on that side caused by me. Inside the housing, yeah, that's a mixture of water and grease in there. I don't quite know why. It's not gone any further than, but I think it's basically just been sitting where the bearing is. I don't know if this car's been doing a bit of wading. You can see all around here is water that's mixed with the grease. I don't know if that's caused the failure or what, I don't know. The nut on this thing, I don't understand why people do them up so tight. This thing's got gasket sealant all over it. What do they think the oil seal's for? Anyway, I'll clean all that crap off. The nut was just ridiculously tight for something that should be done up to nowhere near as tight as it was. So 4-foot breaker bar, my entire weight on it, and it started to move. I don't know if it was just paint or what that was causing it to stick in. It's a P7724 by the looks of things. It's an old enough bearing that probably find it's been in the car for decades. Don't lose the big circlip, by the way. These buggers are impossible to get hold of. You need that fella when you put the bearing back in again. The other thing I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to weld in a couple of fillets of steel on the underside, basically from there to there, there to there, just to kind of reinforce it to a certain extent. I've got some angle iron, which I'm going to chop up. I don't know what I did with the angle iron actually. I've got tons and tons and tons of angle iron down in Devon, but not so much of it up here. Further to the water debacle, I've just been thinking about that. The water debacle was on the blind side of the bearing and on the diff. So really, I'm not entirely sure how that water got in there. I would have thought that it's a fairly recent thing. You can see the water on the inside of the shaft. I might just double check the diff oil and find out if there's any oil, water in there as well, because that would be a bit disappointing. I mean, looking in here, There's no real signs of water contamination. You see water contamination, it's got like bubbles all over it. Here we go, fill shaft. Pick it up with that. We've got some monster ridging on this thing here. There's an enormous ridge around here. I haven't got a machine shop here that can machine that and sleeve it back to standard. I need to double check that that isn't a machine mark, because that is ridiculous. I've never seen one, I don't think, with those two grooves on it. You can see there where the water's damaged that as well. Isn't it weird? Let's see how far into the seal that goes. There's the damage. The damage is just outside of the seal, and the seal runs in the middle of that ridge, so I think that's a machined surface. I just haven't seen that on another one of these before, so unless someone has machined this already, of course we don't know how tight that is against the oil seal there. Anyway, whatever. Can't do anything about it. Bearings ordered, gaskets ordered. Weld that tomorrow, put it back together tomorrow hopefully, and then I can get on with Bob. Welded those on, not my best welding. Shaky hands today. Right, refitted the new bearing. This one's an NKE bearing. It came from Simply Bearings, part number, made in Austria, look at that. Where's the part number? I don't think it's on here, is it? Oh dear, I'll get the invoice. I'll put the part number in the description below. But listen now. Can you tell the difference? Yeah? Now, there is still play at this end, because it's quite a long shaft and the bearing is right up here, but it doesn't touch the edges. Okay? I've only welded 2 plates onto the bottom here. I think it's generally the bottoms that split. There's no sign of this one splitting anywhere, so that can all go back in. There's a remains of a lock there. I'll get it back on the car, then I'll paint it. I'll just lob some underset over the top of it. Really just get the whole thing looking a bit smarter. Right, let's get it back on the car now. It's all back together. Let's see if the diff nose is now quiet. Which will be pleasing, would it not? With the trip hazard. Right. Oh my goodness. Joke. Right, so that's fixed that. I should put it on the ground now. It can be collected tomorrow. Yay! Customer can get his stag back. Fairly comprehensive amount of work really still on the car. It kind of came in with a couple of minor issues, like the brake pedal being soggy, and the driver's door wouldn't open, and a couple of other odds and sods. Ran like a dog because it was so rich, and it's ended up with quite a comprehensive carburettor overhaul, ignition overhaul, refoamed both of the driver's seat bases because they were, re-diaphragmed both of the seat bases because they were both torn and in danger of tearing the mats. Replaced the brake master cylinder, got the PDWA back into service again because it wasn't doing anything at all, and replaced all the flexi hoses because some of them were prehistoric. And then on top of all of that, I've had to change a diff nose bearing. So all in all, quite a chunk of work. But I think most of these issues have come about because the car was laid out for so very long, and the new owner has pressed it into service. Nothing the new owner has done wrong here at all. However, perhaps an MOT might have identified some of the faults. I'm just saying, I know MOT exemption and everything is blah 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 blah. It doesn't exempt the right though to drive an unroadworthy car on the road, and it's a misconception. Now I'm a mechanic. I'm a plastic mechanic. I'm a car restorer, but I have been doing this for decades. And so if you look at my Stag's not been MOT for a couple of years, but then it's also done about 500 miles, and I do go over it with a fine tooth comb. I will get it MOT because I want to keep the history file up to date. And when I look at buying a car, one of the things I do look at is MOT history, because it gives a good indication. I'm not an advocate for MOTs. I know it's a test for that minute on that day, but I think it's a worthwhile exercise, really, just to get the MOT done and dusted. Anyway, enough rambling about frickin' MOTs. I hope you enjoyed this series. That's the end of this Stag series. It will be hopefully going on to training tomorrow, back to its owner, who I'm pretty sure is going to find a magnificent change in the kind of the overall performance and running of this particular car. Yeah. If you like it, give us a good old thumbs up, won't you? There'll be more Stags to come, but I'm back onto Land Rovers now. Oh yes.